Third indictment. The previous week, when her customarily immaculately dressed husband had returned from the office, she had observed something unprecedented about his appearance. He was wearing no tie, and the buttons of his shirt were crudely out of alignment. Isobel suggested that even the most inveterate liar would have had trouble coming up with a credible explanation for this state of dress. Fourth indictment. Isobel pointed to a brown envelope on the coffee table between us. "In there, along with one strand of blonde hair, you will find one half of a letter, which was torn in two. I found it in Dennis's waste paper basket. Just let me know what you think about all this when you come on Friday." "But that's only—" "Yes, but I know that you can manage it. Same time, and you'll want this as well." She handed me a second envelope, a white one, laid a hand on my sleeve, and whispered almost conspiratorially, "Good luck." Then she showed me the door. I called in at the Dewdrop on my way home, and over a couple of pints of real ale, I thought of the singular commission given me that morning. And I thought, too, of Isobel Rodgers. I suppose I should have opened the brown envelope first, but I didn't. Inside the white envelope I found a cheque made out to me, and I looked again at the middle handwritten line there. £500. I decided to put the cheque into my account immediately. Whilst I stood waiting in the queue at Lloyd's Bank, I looked yet again at the small, neat writing and at the signature there. Isobel Rodgers. As I look back on the following few days, I feel somewhat guilty about having accepted such a generous fee for my services, which amounted to the following. First, I went to the local British Telecom offices to determine if I could get a lead on Isobel's mysterious phone calls. The patient lady there first explained the various methods for discouraging replacement window specialists and other persistent unwanted callers. Then she went on to tell me that unfortunately the telephone numbers of stalkers and crank callers were generally untraceable, as those callers usually took precautions to make sure that they were. I already knew all this, and I suddenly wondered if Isobel Rodgers knew it all too. But I figured it had been worth a try. I spent the whole of the lunch hour on Wednesday in North Parade Avenue, a very narrow thoroughfare off the Banbury Road. At 12:30 p.m., two bonny-looking blondes left the offices of the Cavalier Press and walked along to the Gardener's Arms. I followed them into that hostelry, then stood behind them as each ordered a spritzer and a packet of plain crisps. A few moments later I took a seat opposite them in one of the spacious alcoves and introduced myself with a carefully rehearsed spiel, telling them I was a reporter from the Oxford Times writing an article on the local literary scene. Both Jade and Sadie, as they introduced themselves, appeared quite happy to answer my questions. The Cavalier Press was doing fine, especially after the recent big thrill of having the Hare Prize awarded to one of its authors. And Mr. Rodgers had thrown a party to celebrate. Great, wasn't it, Sadie? And there'd been a super article in the bookseller on Eddie Young, the prize winner, who wrote under the nom de plume Virginia Sterling. "A lot of these women are men, you know," Jade giggled, "and Eddie's going to sign an exclusive 3-book deal with us. Great. Mr. Rodgers is over the moon, isn't he, Sadie?" My eyes shifted to the slimly curvaceous Sadie, the quieter of the two, who nodded slowly, then finished her spritzer. I got to my feet and insisted on ordering further spritzers for my blonde informants. Jade's pin-straight hair was cut quite short, while Sadie's wonderfully curly locks were shoulder-length. Sadie's hair was a better match for the Strand Isobel had found. If this race turned out to be of the 2-horse variety, it would appear that Isobel had placed her bet on the wrong filly. On Thursday morning I called in at a cut above for a long-overdue haircut. Then, following my usual custom, I went home immediately afterwards to shake out the hairs from inside my shirt and rub my back with a towel. As I fastened my shirt buttons, something clicked in my sluggish brain about Isobel's wayward husband and his mismatched buttons. But what of the letter? Each evening I had pondered on that handwritten piece of paper, torn vertically down the middle. "Ill and weekend meeting. Citing things that's ever fit, and the thought of hours being spent with it makes me the most Erling. Certainly there were plenty of suggestive possibilities down the torn edge of the note.